Another trailer for Expeditions, a MudRunner game, just got released, and it actually had a lot more information in it than you might have expected it to. Now, I will leave a link to that particular trailer in the description down below, but if you've already seen it, or even if you haven't seen it, I'm going to go through the main highlights, as well as talk about some of the things that this means for the continuation of both Expeditions, as well as the greater Runners series as a whole. However, before we go any further, we're going to have to talk about this. I know, it's a little unfortunate. This is the Expeditions Year 1 Pass, and as you can see, you have Season 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think it's pretty safe to assume that this will probably function similarly to how the seasons in SnowRunner have in terms of DLC anyway. So what this probably will look like as 3 standard seasons, and then the 4th one being more like an expansion. Now, obviously that is not confirmed, but I would imagine that if that formula was what they used for SnowRunner, and then what they showed here seems almost like, honestly, almost like a direct carryover in terms of formula, that's probably the formula they're going to stick with. And I can honestly already see the people in the comments raising their pitchforks and saying they will, never buy another season of DLC again. However, honestly, I've got to say, I'm not the biggest fan of this type of content delivery either. But unfortunately, it seems like this is the type of system that a lot of games are moving to these days. I mean, season-based content is honestly prevalent in just about every genre at this point. And the thing is, yeah, I know that a lot of people don't like this type of content delivery. However, we've seen time and time again that this season-based content model seems to be what makes the developers, or rather the publishers, the highest amount of money at the moment. So, I mean, would I like to see a switch away from like that drip feed style of content delivery? Sure I would. However, for the moment, that seems to be the content delivery style we are stuck with. But enough about that. Let's talk about the part of the trailer that got me the most excited, and that is this. Now, this was essentially our very first look at what mines and caves are going to be like to actually drive into in Expeditions. Now, this is interesting for multiple reasons, and it also provides a lot of opportunities for us to see into the future of what this series will do. And the reason why this is so exciting, or rather one of the main reasons why this is so exciting, especially for me, was I remember playing these games, or rather the games in this series, back at the time when just the mere act of driving under a bridge would send the camera system for a loop. And when I say for a loop, I don't just mean figuratively. I actually mean literally in some cases, because the camera would either flop up and down, or it would just rotate awkwardly until you weren't under the bridge anymore. So the fact that they're actually allowing us to drive into mines and caves in Expeditions, I really hope they've done some proper work with the camera, because otherwise it's gonna be really sketchy. And really my only actual worry in terms of driving in the caves is that they force you to be in the first person view. Now, I don't know if that's actually going to be a forced dynamic or not. However, if they do force us to drive in first person while we're in the caves, it's going to be a little bit of a letdown, mainly because not everyone likes to drive in first person view in these games. It's not necessarily going to be the end of the world, although I guess I just have a feeling that some people, or rather some players, are not going to be the biggest fan of driving underground if it requires them to be in first-person view the entire time. Now, that is by no means me predicting that they are going to force you to be in first person underground, but rather that's just me stating a concern that I have, because I don't know. I feel like they could have either put in a bunch of time to make sure that both first person and third person worked equally well underground, or they could have just forced the first person camera while underground, which, I mean, I know which one would be the easier option. However, I really hope that the option that they chose was to make both views usable while driving underground, because I do think it would be a big enhancement to the overall gameplay experience. And now let's talk about co-op and online multiplayer, because that has been a topic that has been touchy in terms of expeditions. Now, the reason why I think it has been so touchy is because a lot of people have stated they have no interest in buying or playing this game if they don't have the option to play it with friends. And while the game will not ship with co-op mode as a feature immediately, they have said they will be adding it as part of the very first season update. Of course, that will be part of the free update, not the paid seasonal DLC. So all players will get access to co-op mode as part of the overall update package. And while that's probably not the answer that everybody wanted, it's a better answer than you're not getting co-op at all. And also the fact that it's part of the free update is huge, because, you don't want to know what the fallout would look like if they said, okay, yeah, you want multiplayer? You're going to have to, that'll be $5.99. I mean, can you imagine what kind of absolute hellscape that would look like? It's like, oh, you want to access the multiplayer? Oh, that'll be $5.99 as an entrance fee. Oh, you want all the modes? Oh, that'll be an extra $2.99 unlock fee. And, oh, you want the Connect with your friends package? Oh, that's another $3.99. And while, yes, sure, that is a little bit of an exaggerated parody of how some of these games function, and not, of course, not just in the Runner series, but kind of what modern game DLC has turned into, especially just as a landscape, because it almost feels like when you look at some of these games, there are so many things that are just, well, if you buy this, then you get access to this, but you don't get access to all of it, because then you also have to buy this package, but you don't get access to the whole package until you've bought the pre-package to gain access to the post-package. At least that's what modern gaming can feel like sometimes, in terms of an overall landscape, of course. However, moving on from that, they did show a few more areas that I was really excited to show y'all, because as you can tell, they've definitely, at least it looks to me, like they have really gone in depth in terms of ramping up the visual clarity for expeditions. And the more I see of these new regions, the more excited I get as to not only what expeditions is going to look like as well as play like, but the more excited I also get about what the next mainline entry in the Runner series is also going to look like. Because let's not forget, Expeditions is a spin-off, not a mainline entry. And many times throughout the trailer, they actually really leaned into multiplayer gameplay. They leaned into showing a lot of trucks driving together, which is interesting to me because they're using that as a main marketing point. However, that functionality will not be available in the game until the first season update. Again, the free update, so you won't have to pay for multiplayer access. However, it's still an interesting thing to me that I'm like, they're heavily leaning into a feature that won't actually be available upon launch. However, if we do want to give them the benefit of the doubt, it does look like it is going to be a very exciting game once it releases, and then of course once the updates start to really roll out, it should only get better from there. Now, I for one am really hoping for better overall stability in Expeditions compared to SnowRunner, especially for the Xbox people, because Oh my God. The Xbox people have been through the absolute ringer in terms of just bugs and glitches and issues and stability problems. And if we're being completely honest here, the Xbox version of SnowRunner is about as stable as a Jeep with death wobble. And if you're talking about stability, a Jeep with death wobble is not necessarily a good benchmark to be at. However, that is going to do it for this video, y'all. And if you enjoyed, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. And if you're new around here and want to stay as up to date as possible on everything in the runner space, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn those notifications on. And I will see y'all next time.